When your low self-belief, your low self-confidence is still dominant in your life when you reach your 40s, 50s, 60s or beyond, it can feel as if you are unchangeable and that it is sort of an infliction that you just have to deal with. The ticking down of the clock syndrome can affect you really deeply and can cause you not to shine in your life. This common limiting pattern can also be triggered, if you like, or strengthened by life events such as birthday, another year passing, seeing your parents aging, Christmas coming, New Year. If you are stuck in this mode of using time against you, you could see this as evidence of the doom and gloom, time ticking down for you, which doesn't really do well for your confidence. And what it does is it just fuels the aging panic story that you've got running within you. All of this can fuel the aging panic story that you've got running within you, and it is you that have chosen to embrace this way of thinking. And I say you may not be aware that you've chosen it, but actually this is a thing that gives you the power to potentially change things. And this panic story is designed to scare you out of your wits. It's coming from a very innate, primitive part of you that just wants to preserve you and keep you alive in a way, but it's also very limiting because it affects and impacts your self-belief and your self-confidence. How can it strengthen your confidence if you are worried in every moment about aging? But you may be surprised to know that you can shift this way of thinking quite quickly. Listen to the end of this video if you want to find out more. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do subscribe. Because then you'll receive notifications when I issue a new video. I absolutely love that. I feel as if I've been gifted with the ability to see the light within my clients, and not only my clients actually, I see it in people. I can just see their light and what's possible for them, even if they can't see it for themselves. And I'm glad that I've allowed myself at the age of 50 to establish my coaching practice, now 60, and age for me has never really been a problem. Actually, somebody sent me a birthday card when I was, say, in my 30s, and it said, "This is the youngest you'll ever be." And I at first thought, why is someone sending me a card like this? But I actually thought that was actually profound, because it's true. If this is the youngest I'm ever going to be, in every moment that is a true thing. This is the youngest I'm ever going to be. Tomorrow, this is the youngest I'm ever going to be. Completely different dynamic and energy to the, oh my God, I'm getting older. I helped one of my clients to release the negative belief around I'm getting older, which she started to get into that habit from about the age of 30. And she held that belief for 27 years. This belief was so strong in her that it impacted all of her decisions and was quite a destructive element within her. And, having conversations with her came from a place of deep regret about not knowing that actually there was another way of being, but she was very, I suppose, committed. This is what happens with beliefs. They're very honourable and they will play out in your life as guided. And that's why it is important to be conscious of the beliefs that we are starting to forge in our lives. You have to be aware of the profound effect that they may be having on our lives. So having this belief caused every sort of life decision to be passed through this sort of strategic paradigm way of thinking, which led to so many missed opportunities for her and her just not really being happy or enjoying her life to the fullest. She was 57 when we spoke, and the regret and the grief within her was palpable. I'm going to share with you some of the things that we worked through to help her to shift that limiting belief and for her to actually achieve things in her life that she didn't think was possible at all. Let me know in the comments below if this is a trap that you've tumbled into without realising, the "oh, I'm getting old" trap, because we don't want it to last for 27 years. One of the first questions I asked her was, where does it end? And she said, I don't know. And I suppose that is evidence in itself of stuckness, being in a loop of stuckness. So that's some insight. That's great insight. Okay, so if you believe you're too old now and going to be too old tomorrow, what are you really saying to yourself? You're sort of saying that your life is over. That is what you are strengthening every time you enter into that sort of dialogue with self. I'm too old. Life is over. You have nowhere to go. So it means that actually you're just waiting for death, which makes you feel awful, doesn't it? It's an awful way to feel. But without us realising, this is what is playing out when we adopt this limiting belief. And I have to say, my client, there was some silence when I said this, but then there was also a bit of protest. She was like, well, but I am getting older. And that is a truth. And what I said was, yes, you are aging, but what you've done is you focused on the number. You have to look beyond the number. Yes, we're aging and we will get to a point when we expire, but what about living in between? And it's what you made the number mean that is in fact holding you back. It's the meaning behind what, getting older means for you, which if you think it's a countdown to death, why would you do anything? It's like a loss of hope. So a habit that she had started 30 years ago scared her, and it was totally holding her back. What a horrible state to be in. And if you've adopted something similar, you may well be in a similar sort of state of anxiety, because without realising, you've given the power to I'm getting older. You've empowered it. You've given it far too much power and too much control, and you've almost nurtured it into a strategic driving force in your life that just operates on automation. It's a truism, it's a fact, and it just plays out in a way that I think is very limiting for people. So what I said to my client is, you are exhausted and war battered as a result of having this belief. And to be honest, you didn't know. It's not about fault or anything like that. And that's why your confidence is low. It's low because it's not the most invigorating strategy to be guiding your life when you look at it in those terms. This made her laugh at first, but then the tears came. Our work together resulted in her securing a very senior role in the arts field, and she never thought for 1 minute that this would be possible for her at this point in her life. Her new way of thinking also lifted the sort of doom and gloom that she had hanging over her, that was almost like an additional weight. And that is why it's hard to try to counteract it without doing this type of work, because you are carrying a load that is dragging you back in the opposite direction to where you want to go. And she's moved towards a more energizing inner optimism. I think it's important to say that she's not a different person. What she is a much happier version of herself. And that is important, because this isn't about self-abandonment. This is about playing to our strengths and working with ourselves and bringing ourselves on this journey. Her transition required her to change some interactions with herself, just basic interactions, the way that she spoke to herself, her choice of words. And this was without over-analysing. Wasn't about going back and trying to untangle the knotted ball of everything that has gone on, for the last 27 years. That is just, I think, a waste of time. Touch on some of the past, but actually it's very much about being rooted in the present and building new roots from the present place. So what we did was we focused on bridging the gap between, what it was she needed to be able to align to the new and what she wanted from the new aspirations and the new way of thinking, and to put in place the required skill set and the knowledge to enable her to sort of, I suppose, have a very strong neural pathway in relation to the new. We made peace with the past and halted the worry about the future. We did that pretty quickly, actually. It was about, I suppose, releasing the old way of thinking. Goodbye, I'm getting older, which takes up so much energy, and using that energy in a completely different way for a new belief that served her. Self-doubt is a lack of certainty and belief in relation to a particular thing. So in relation to getting older, it's almost, I would say, it's like a sticky table temporary thing that people just quickly say because they don't really think about what they need to be saying. So rather than thinking, I'm getting older, maybe we could be a bit more solution focused about what we want. It's just like a lazy, immature way of speaking, but that can quickly turn into a hardened fact. And so what we had to do was we had to work out a new way of interacting and speaking and guiding and self-leading. And it was this that created a great momentum in the right direction that was the driver for great change and enjoyment really in her life. This just makes things feel easier and enjoyable, and it doesn't just impact on one area of her life. Okay, we focused on sort of career and life purpose, but then what she was realizing, it was a knock-on effect in the way that she approached her choices and decision making in relation to other life areas. So that's a win-win. And it literally proves to me that with a little focus, mountains can be moved. And with new ways of thinking comes fantastic results. I've designed a free training for you. It's a guide on the 5 core steps towards really touching base with lasting happiness. And this is what I used to change my own vibrational tones many years ago. And it revolutionized my happiness vibe. So click below and you'll be able to access that for free. So thanks for listening. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you like this video, please like, because I really want to get my word out to as many people as possible.